CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris is in Washington, joins us now. And, well, Steve, I suppose let the ad hominem attacks continue here. Among the adjectives we just heard Secretary Clinton drop on that tarmac: dangerous, disqualifying, unpatriotic, and insulting. What did you make by way of attack and response of what we just heard?
Well, she didn't have much of an opportunity yesterday to do this. Her only event was at that Commander-in-Chief's event, and they had asked to not really insult the other person. But clearly this is what the strategy is on both sides, is really to take the other person down, to make the other candidate look like they're not fit to be President of the United States. She's doubling down on this, and she's been calling him temperamentally unfit for months, but this is really, I think, the main strategy. The question is will voters buy her as the messenger on that, or do they think she has her own problems that might prevent her from serving as President of the United States? And so that's really what it comes down to. She's trying to lay out an argument that on foreign policy, the kinds of things that he says are bizarre, to use her words, are dangerous, again, to use her words, and basically add up to the fact that he's unfit to do this job.
And did so in their invoking at one point Ronald Reagan. And we saw her reach across the aisle to a degree. What would Ronald Reagan think of a candidate who would attack U.S. generals and heap praise on Russia, or suggest that the U.S. was in the Middle East simply to take the oil, what she called to plunder and pillage the Middle East? Again, if nothing else, we're seeing the Secretary continue perhaps to reach across that aisle, or just reach undecideds some 9 weeks now from the election. What do you make of this as a strategy in this forum?
Well, there's no secret that many Republicans, are not happy with Donald Trump as their nominee, and so clearly she's speaking to them, and she's trying to prove to others who might be on the fence to say, hey, look, you know what? This isn't just Democrats that are supporting me. There are people all across the aisle who are supporting me. There are independents, Republicans, and they fear Donald Trump in the Oval Office. And so, again, running down the list of whether it's domestic policy, foreign policy issues, and suggesting that he's not ready to do this, you're right, she's trying to speak to those, especially in battleground states, who may not have made up their mind or who are on the fence, and say, hey, you know what, I'm the less scary option here. Don't go with Donald Trump just because he's a Republican.
And yet we heard the first question of those that she took there on the tarmac refer to the Real Clear Politics average that shows that she is up merely 2.8 points on Donald Trump. And she was essentially asked, why is she not running away with this? One answer could be the fact that even in a Commander-in-Chief forum, as last night's event was, 1/3 of it was dedicated to continued questions about email servers. And her responses last night, again, were not received well. If nothing else, Steve, given how long the candidate has had to craft an answer to satisfy and perhaps head off further questions about the same topic, something that has become the central issue of her campaign, like it or not, what do you make of the response we saw last night and again this morning?
Yeah, the problem she has is that it seems every week or every 2 weeks there's something new that comes out on the email situation, whether it's the Clinton Foundation connections or whether it's the FBI notes from the interview that they did with her as they were trying to get down to the bottom of this. There are new details that come out on this, and it doesn't really jibe with what she's been saying over the last year in terms of the emails. And so I think voters have questions about her. They have questions about her judgment in terms of dealing with this email situation. And then you have Donald Trump on the other side, and many other Republicans saying that what she did, if not was not ethically a problem, could possibly be a legal problem. So with all those clouds hanging over her head and her unable to really explain it away simply, I think what you're seeing consistently are her unfavorable numbers going up, and questions from voters about whether she's telling the full truth on this. And because of that, I think you're seeing these polls tighten.
So then as we look ahead to September 26th, which as you've stated many times on the program, this is going to be the last series of opportunities for these two candidates perhaps to separate themselves, or at least draw lines of delineation. Last night we see in one candidate somebody comfortable with policy perhaps, but seemingly uncomfortable in the setting, and another candidate who offered glib rejoinders rather than specific on policy, yet somebody who seemed at ease in the moment. What did it tell you then about what we will see beginning September 26th?
Well, I think it's probably going to be a big red flag for Lester Holt, who's going to be moderating that first debate, to really hold both of their feet to the fire on this. I mean, they're going to be standing up there for 90 minutes. They're going to be subject to a lot of follow-up questions. Last night was sort of a rushed deal. It was maybe 20 minutes each. They had a lot of ground to cover. These debates, it's a lot of time to be up there on stage. And not only that, you're going to be standing on the same stage as your opponent. And so your opponent's going to be saying things about you as well and needling you as well. And so, if they had a tough time last night in a much more separated from each other and in a tighter time frame, it's going to be really, really interesting to watch them on the stage, 90 minutes, standing next to each other with a moderator who's going to clearly follow up when they're not fully answering these questions.
Again, fewer than 3 weeks from now. Steve Chaggaris, as always, insight is appreciated.
Thanks, Josh.